Timer is going, so these are drying. While that's going, I'm actually going to work on the holster. Okay. So what I've got here is a piece of PVC that's cut from a 2.5 inch PVC that I cut down the middle, heated, and then flattened out. In fact, this piece is left over from this project, my phone holster, which still works so far. So we know these measurements already, right? So this right here at its most is 1.25 inches. This foam is about 1/2 inch, and we're going to have two sides of that, so it's going to wind up being about 2.25 inches. In fact, when I tape it, it's going to come down a little smaller than that, but that's okay. The thickness is going to be about 1 inch, so we want to go a little bit more than 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is, first, I'm going to take my square, figure out how long this is. So this is about a little over 5 inches, like 5 1/8, give or take. Okay, I'm going to use this edge because it's already got kind of a curve in as the outer edge of the holster, so that it has a little bit of a hook when you put the sword in. Okay, so I'm going to mark. I'm going to get a bit of Sharpie. So this is a little over 5 1/8 by 2.5. Okay, and since our Ricasso is about 3 inches, that's perfect. So if the blade is 2.25-ish, come in about 2.25. Okay, and then I'm going to go 1 1/8, and then this side is going to be just sort of bent in like that. Square up my lines. So I'm going to take my 30-60 triangle here. So this is 60 degrees, this is 30. And because this is the part that's going to go on the front, I want this to hang at an angle like this. Okay, so I'm going to take my triangle here, and from this corner up, I'm going to mark a line. And then from this corner here, I'm going to mark a line going down. So I have that. Okay. And you can do this whatever angle you want. It's up to you. Now my belt is about a 2-inch thick web belt. So I'm going to square up from this line as the farthest I can go, which puts me right on the edge, which is not where I want to be. But I'm doing that specifically so I can know how far I can go. Okay, so I don't want to get this close. So this measurement is like 2 3/8. So I'm going to find the center here. I'm going to mark maybe 2 1/8. So this is 1 1/16 either way. It's not much, but this PVC is pretty thick, so it doesn't really need much. So far my holster hasn't broken, and I've used it fairly aggressively, which doesn't mean it'll never break. Okay, so these are my end lines here. So I'm going to get my Dremel, I'm going to cut out these parts on this line at an angle so that it's easier for when the belt slips through to go in and out. I'm not going to, but if you can try to heat this section here and then try to bend it out, and try to do that without bending the sides here. And if you bend it out, then it sort of pops up out, and then your belt just slips straight through, and you don't have to cut at an angle or anything. I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to cut with my Dremel. I gotta make sure it fits on my belt. Okay, good. I didn't think I was gonna strip for you, did you? So now I'm gonna take it over to my belt sander. I'm gonna sand it. Actually, I just have a Dremel. I'm gonna use the sanding bit to trim down these sharp edges real quick, and by then it'll be time to put the blade on. Edges are sanded. Now, I'm going to take the sword and put the blade in pommel on. pommel. Cool. There's the pommel. Okay. I'm going to take a couple of thin strips of duct tape, seriously, super thin, just like that, and put them on the pommel on the top where the outer edge meets, just to hold it in place and let it kind of solidify. Now we're going to do the handle, so I need my hot glue gun. Okay, so while my heat gun is heating up, my hot glue gun has been heating up. Oh, my pommel is crooked. A little better. Dude, what the f? Everything is crooked. Okay, so my heat gun is heating up, so I can start working on bending this. But before I do that, my hot glue gun has been going, so I'm going to wrap the handle. So I'm going to start on the bottom, and I will explain why in a second. Trim this. Fill this little gap here with some hot glue, and I'm going to shove this in there like that. So I'm going to put a fat glob on the core, and I'm sort of pushing it down as I wrap, and also tangling the sword up as I wrap. Now the reason I am starting from the bottom is because when I get to the top, I'm actually going to double back over it about 4 inches of the way. I might do that. We'll see how it comes out. So it actually sort of pushed into the guard there. Actually, you know what? So the reason I started from the bottom to the top was so that I would be able to wrap back down around. And let's see if I like a bit of a wider grip better. Yeah, it's a little too wide. So I'm not going to do that. But it's an option if you're using thinner stuff. Like this blade, I actually used tie line, so it's really thin. So when I wrapped it the first time, it wasn't wide enough. So I wrapped it a second time around some of the way down so that it could bulk up. Also, it gives it kind of a cool look for it to be not all the way up. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to come around with the cord. I'm actually going to sort of tie it. So I'm going to do that twice. Then I'm going to put in some hot glue around to the top. And this over. And then just sort of tighten the cord. Wow, wow, wow. And then just cut the cord. Okay, so I got my cord wrapped up. I'm not going to do the electric tape yet until I tape up the guard and the pommel, because when you tape over, you can tape up the handle a little bit or down the handle, and then when you put the electric tape on, it'll cover that excess. So one key difference is that the tip here isn't pointed. It's not a pointed tip, but that's going to come down into the taping, so that when I tape it, I'm actually also going to shape it into a point, because that's what I did with this one. Other than that, I kind of dig the round pommel, but other than that, they're pretty much the same. Now let's get to the holster. So I've got my vise, and I made this part specifically for making these holsters, making the first one that I made. I've got a bucket here of water, so that when I I can bend it and hold it in place for a few seconds. It'll cool down just enough to hold the shape. And I dunk it in the water, and that cools it completely and makes it hold its shape even better. So I'm going to take the piece, I'm going to put it in here, bring the line up over it a little bit. Okay. And then now I'm going to heat both sides. Give it about a 5-second pass each way. Do about 3 of those. And switch over. And eventually it'll start to move on its own. Now with heat guns, mine is set on the highest setting. As you can see, probably. Not really. So mine is set on the highest setting just because I'm impatient. And but I'm also keeping my distance so I don't get too close and burn the PVC. Okay. Put this down, and I've got a piece of 2-bar here. I'll use that to bend. I want it nice and tight. So I hold this for about 20 seconds. Okay. So it's a little bit over I want about a 45. This gives me a chance to shape it a little bit. Once I got it about where I want it. Okay, so now I'm going to bend this side. So the reason I went a little over let the line go up is because when I bend it, see now it's like right in the corner. So I want a little bit more over the line. Like a 1/16 of an inch about. So it's a little bendy, so I'll bend it back. Just open that up a little bit. Okay. Okay, and now we test it. The dimension should be about the same, so I'm just going to test it on this one. Oh, it's a little tight. So I'm going to open that up a little bit. I also have to make sure that the belt is still fixed because this side got a little closed up, it looks like. So it kind of works, but I'm going to open it up a little bit. Open it up a little bit. See if that had any effect. So now I'm going to do the corner. Before I keep trying to melt this, I'm going to actually cut this side at an angle here and then this way so that this is a little smaller and I can focus my work. It'll also make it easier to pull in and out. This is a little looser than I want, so I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. dark now, so I had to get my lights set up. But we got the holster done. I got it. I cleaned out this area so it fits my belt now. And this is right about where I want it as far as fit. You know, nice audible sort of almost click sound when it goes in, and that, you know, will hold it nice and snug. It might fall out, but that's what happens when you don't have a full sheath. A few differences. This one's a little bit shorter overall, but they should function about the same. And it should work for this one as soon as this one is all taped up, which I will do next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please comment below. If you liked it, you can comment also. If you have any questions, please ask and I will get to them as I can. And also please check out the Manoa Medieval Combat Club on Facebook. We will carry on with taping